Me to hold him anymore because he's just so tall and long.
Well, that's how I got tall. My dad was 6'1", my mom was 5'11".
Yeah. Well, this kid's going to be I mean, he better play basketball. That's all I can say. Or
What's
maybe he'll,
funny is they're the ones who don't want to.
yeah.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't want to. They tried to get me to do that in track, and I just didn't want to.
Yeah.
All right. Good
Oh,
morning, everyone.
good morning.
Thank you for joining us. I was just on the phone performing real estate duties, well, all the things we do for our clients. I got somebody out there, to do a roof estimate, and then he's supposed to be there at 10 o'clock, and at 9:58, I get a call, don't come. People are still here. So, that's what we do, right? All the time. So,
Yep,
um, so,
we're flexible.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, uh, one of the, I think a lot of us, I'm just going to speak for myself, right? So I think I fall on that ADHD spectrum. Yeah, nobody needs to make a comment, but I think I fall there. So, and in a way, it's kind of a superpower because when we engage it properly, we can get a whole lot done, right? Also, I'm working out this morning, and sometimes I hit a deal where my like mind's on fire, and I got a whiteboard down there I write on, and I have a notebook I take notes on, and I do all of that. And then that's the great part because now I've engaged in my ADHD superpower. And then I lose the notebook for 20 minutes and can't find it, right? Right before this meeting. So that's the downside of that. So anyway, so so how y'all doing for a
Great.
Thursday? It's
Yeah.
gonna shift to be a little chillier. Um, so anybody want to make any comments on current market conditions? What does it look like for you out there? Are you seeing things pick up? I'll start the conversation, speak for myself. I had a listing that was probably a really nice house, but probably a little bit overpriced in the area it was. Hey, but with all that being said, I got people looking at it. I got an offer and I was able to make a deal happen, right? So that was kind of unexpected to happen that quickly. Had an acreage property that it's a long story, but I kind of nurtured it for a while, and within 4 hours of signing a listing agreement, I had a contract. So um, it and then my other house in Eagle Glen actually. Somebody had seen walked in the house, why the clients were moving out. I put it in coming soon status. They sent me an offer in coming soon status because they had already seen it. Happened to be another real estate agent in our area. So those were all good things that happened in the month of February. So that was kind of encouraging for me about what the market looks like. Is anybody else have any feedback towards that?
We're
No?
a little slow out of the gate, but the listings are starting to accumulate, in pre-MLS. So we're starting to set the table for what should be a pretty good, run. But honestly, our January was pretty slow because I didn't do a lot in December. So that's how that works.
So Lonnie, when Lonnie says he didn't do a lot in December, does that mean you weren't actively lead genning, weren't actively what?
Oh, I would say for about 6 weeks, I probably did the bare minimum. So
Okay.
very little lead generation. Just kind of enjoyed the holidays, traveled a little bit, and I'm okay with that. I've done that a few times, but it all but assures you you're going to get off to a little bit slower start in the new year, which I guess I'm saying I'm okay with. But if I were at a different stage of my career, I wouldn't do it that way.
Okay. Well, I think that that's perfectly fine. And I wanted to take December off, but fortunately or unfortunately, business wouldn't let me. I had a lot going on. And some of that's led to what the things I just mentioned earlier. Um, so maybe a topic of conversation, and I had a conversation with Stephanie this morning. So, and a lot of what I find, just because of the clientele that I'm marketing towards, is the senior client or the people that who have inherited homes. I find like I have a really long nurturing process, right? Well, sometimes it ends up being shorter than I expect, but there's this period where I'm doing a lot of advising and sometimes coordinating before I'm even ready to get a listing agreement signed, right? So it's like, wow. So, I mean, like I said, my understanding is I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to contracts and stuff, is that once I have a listing agreement signed, I have two paths I can take. I can go active in 24 hours. I got to go coming soon, right? So it's just not like, so what I really want to do is when I meet these people and they indicate that they want to use me for an agent, I'd love to get them signed up then. But I don't want to put a property in the coming soon for 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, right? And a lot can happen in that period. So I find myself doing a lot of nurturing, a lot of advising, and sometimes coordinating, and sometimes even pulling away with my truckload, by back of my truck full of something, right? So just want to know how the rest of you kind of, approach that process. We got to trust our sellers, I guess, at that time. I think that's the only thing. So anybody want to pipe up on that?
Tom, I'll tell you what I did, and this is 10-year-old, and it's probably I know it doesn't carry any water and it doesn't bind anybody to me, but and this is before we even had coming soon status and stuff. We probably had something similar, but it was 10 years ago at this point. But I would, and at the time we had to sign the franchise disclosure. And so if somebody didn't really know, and it wasn't so much that they didn't know that they wanted to use me, I knew that they wanted to use me, but we didn't have dates or something to fill out on the form on the exclusive right to sell. But I'd have them sign, I would leave them with the seller's disclosure, and I would have them sign the franchise disclosure, and anything that they could sign, I would just go ahead and take that paperwork and have them sign it. Again, I don't think that really bounded them to me by any stretch, but I remember talking to Stephanie about that when I very first started, and she's like, "That's a great idea." I said, I don't know. I just have them start filling stuff out that they can, but if we didn't have the exclusive right to sell signed. So that's just something I did a long time ago. Now I just do the coming soon. So
I think when you get into people waiting for a year, but yet you're helping them all along the way, I think most of the time, if you're actively involved in what they're doing in that year, you're going to be fine. But if there's even a chance that there's going to be a personality conflict of any sorts, I've gotten a listing that way where they were working with someone else, like doing all the things, and I didn't know who the other agent was. But then they ended up calling me because somebody referred him to me, and I got the listing signed. And then that other agent called me and said, "Hey, I've been working with them." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know." And I said, "Did you get about exclusive right to sell signed?" And she's like, "No." And I said, "I did." So even if I would have canceled mine, they weren't going to use that person.
yeah.
So I just went on with it. It's just, I think it's a toss up how much you relationship building you do along that year.
Yeah, and I would say kind of my goal is to I mean, in that thing is to really like overserve as much as I can in that capacity. So if for some reason they don't use me, it's going to be a really difficult conversation for them to have with me. I think most people are inherently good and appreciate the work that you do and are not going to, slide something in on you at the last minute. But then also, life is very unpredictable, so you never know what can happen along the way over that period. So, circumstances can change. But I mean, to me, I really don't know any other way. Hey, I got a lead, and I think I got a pretty good chance of turning this into a listing. Yeah, I'm gonna just do the work and hope when I feel and my client feels it's appropriate to get the property on the MLS and that it's all going to work out. So
And just because you have the exclusive right to sell sign, Tom, people can still cancel on you as well, So,
absolutely,
uh,
absolutely. So
and if that happens, as in it's happened to me before, some guy cussed me out on his front lawn and, told me to take my sign out of his yard. He was high as a kite when he did that, but It was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Is
So,
that the guy that wanted to beat me up, Chris?
yes, the guy that wanted to fight you, Lonnie. Yes. And he's no longer with that girl, my
Shocker.
client. Yeah, and she called me the other day because now she's ready to sell that house and buy a new house. I'm like, okay, as long as that guy's not around, that's fine.
Great.
Funny.
Yeah,
Anybody else have a strategy they want to share?
back to your topic, Tom, we talk about this occasionally, but yeah, building rapport is still priority one. We're not going to ever bat 1,000. It doesn't work that way. But the more rapport we build, then you layer that with the documentation, whether that's a listing agreement signed with pre-MLS is still my favorite, but we want to paper things up when we can. Yes, they're at the end of the day, if somebody truly wants to cancel, we're probably going to let them out of it. But all those things, but it goes back to the relationship. That the stronger the relationship is, good people see you working on their behalf, and that starts the business arrangement.
Yeah.
And we all can get thrown a curveball. It happens to me. We just lost a deal in Loch Lloyd that Teresa worked her tail off on, and basically the neighbor, we pushed for trying to get get it in pre-MLS, and the gentleman lost his dad and just decided to sell it to a neighbor. So that was, 800,000 or 900,000 that we missed on.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So this morning when my mind was on fire, right, and I'm writing on my whiteboard and I'm listening to some podcasts trying to find inspiration for this meeting, right? Because the worst thing, the one thing I don't like in life is awkward silence. So I need you guys to speak. Or I'm going to keep talking, which, whatever you choose. So I was kind of skipping through, went through a few millionaire real estate things. Okay, not feeling that. Anyway, I go back to my usually I can find a Brian Buffini episode. He does some shortcut things that are like 10 minutes. So this is the one I landed on. It's called The Magic of Owning a Home, right? So the three basic needs we need in life are food, shelter, and clothing. Right. So shelter is owning the home. And then he goes about, and of course, we talk about, the reasons why owning a home. Well, there's pride of ownership. So, like, we're out there working with first-time home buyers. How do we know that there's pride of ownership? Go to Lowe's or Home Depot on a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. and see how many people are in there buying things for their home, right? So when you get a home and they buy a house and now they're turning it into a home. So I think we need to have those conversations more with the people because it's more than just because we love this conversation, right? We see it. Oh, you can't. I'm blurred. So it's Lonnie's real estate equity creation with the house on it. So I have that right here. So that is a great part of that conversation when we're talking to people about how they can. The problem is, I don't know, most 25 to 35-year-olds like have a little bit of a hard time wrapping their head around 20 or 30 years down the road. But it's always a great conversation. But there's something about coming home to your own house and shutting the door and it's yours and it's your space. So, home ownership, like I said, yes, I am all about equity and wealth. That because I love to share my story with home buyers about the 6 homes that I've owned and how I've all sold them for more money than what I bought them for, which allowed me to end up in the home that somebody's going to have to tell me to leave before I'll leave, right? So, and that was a journey that I couldn't have predicted, nor would I have ever got there if it wasn't for home ownership. So I like to share that story. I like to share the story about real estate equity creation and that. So that was kind of what that episode, what we do is important. We provide the American dream. And what we do is not easy, right? So I was in the flooring business for a long time, and I don't want to say it was an easy business. Actually, it was pretty hard at times, but here's the fact. The product came in, we bought it for a certain amount, we sold it for another amount, right? And I didn't have to really guess in between what it was worth. right? So in real estate, we don't have that advantage. Every 1,200 square foot house we walk into can be a little bit different, and it can be in a little bit different area, and the seller may have a little bit different a need or that or a different personality, and we're just always juggling. At Easy Button, a little Easy Button story. I went under contract on a house. One of the relationships I built with a retirement community had somebody moving in there, and they said, well, we'll have to do something with mom's house. They gave them my card. I got the phone call, right? So I went over there and I actually met them and I put the house under contract. But what we found out going through that process is that dad is still alive and he's in memory care and he is under a guardianship. So now it becomes a whole lot more complicated for this person to sell the home, because once she sells the home, she's going to have a gain, and we're trying to get dad on Medicaid. And if we have this money, we can't get dad on Medicaid, right? So that, man, when we run across this, so luckily for me, one of the relationships I built is with an elder law attorney, and I was able to send him an email. He may send me a bill, I don't know, about the circumstances, and I got a very educated answer on it, right? And I'm going to be able to help those people get through this at the tune of about 10 grand, and then I'm still going to buy the house, right? But like I said, we're not, there's a lot we need, that we need to learn, and people are relying on us. And I mean, to sometimes just to get them through the next phase of their life. So, and with that, I do want to share a little bit story, because one of the biggest things that seniors are facing today is when they're both still alive and one of them needs skilled nursing, memory care, or something like that. Because now now all of a sudden we have this big expense over here, right? And we can't, and there's a lot of maneuvering it needs to do in order for the surviving or healthy spouse to keep the assets without spending all those down to take care of the one that had to go in, right? So I'm learning more and more about that. I'm happy to have side conversations if anybody wants to. But all right, that's it. I talked for 8 minutes.
Yeah, back to one of your points, Tom, is and I spend a lot of time talking to people when I'm, previewing their house. I can go run the comps and everything, and it may tell me that it looks like a 300K-ish type sale, but not everybody will look at it that way. Every house is perceived differently. The data may tell us it's a $300,000 house, but what one person's looking for in a house is different than another person. One person's priority might be how big the garage is, and other people could give a darn about the garage, right? So there's just so many facets that can affect who's going to be interested in a particular property. Within acreages, and I know we have a lot of people on this call that do acreages, nothing is more, exemplifies that more than acreage. I've used this example of, a guy has a nice 3-bedroom house on 5 acres, Rapex schools, blah, 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 blah. That's fantastic. It's all wooded. It's private. Not everybody wants wooded and private. They don't want all that crap all over their yard. They want something they can mow and grab a beer and mow on the weekend. So yet it's still 5 acres in Rapex schools. So everybody's different in what they're, really looking for in these properties that we're analyzing. And the better we can explain that to people, because if they have 5, 6 people look at their house and they kind of feel rejected, it's just like, you're not the right house for those people, but you will be the right house for someone. You came along and bought this house, someone will do the same. Just something I wanted to share.
No, awesome. I'm going to ship this. So this isn't even on my notepad. So acreage. So here's what I've had a couple acreage situations. Actually, Carrie and her sister inherited 2 acreage properties. So I've been learning a little bit about selling acreage, and what I've mostly learned is it's really hard to put a price on acreage. So here's kind of what I have learned between working with Ryan a little bit and Nathan, is that if we have like a 5-acre plot, in our area, which I'm going to say Raymore, Belton, Pleasant Hillish type thing, especially if it's Pleasant Hill near Raymore. We can probably and you can build a house on it, and it's in the roads there, and all the utilities are there. That property is worth between $40,000 and $50,000 an acre. 45 an acre. I've been seeing Ryan pop a few for, maybe even a little bit more on one. I think I had a conversation. I just did a deal with Nathan for a client on one, and that's about where we were at. So I like that. I can wrap my head around that a little bit, but I'm going to use my mother-in-law's property as an example. It's a 35-acre property, and it's on 291 and Hubach Hill Road. The property does not, it goes deep and long, right? So I don't want to say it's especially narrow, but it's more narrow and it goes deep. So that's really not a very developable property. That area right there is killer. It's got all the big houses along there. You got the new addition, a quarter, whatever, the Bella thing, a quarter mile down the road. You got Tiffany Manor down there. So that area is great. But the property itself, I feel like there's 10 acres in the front that would be really great for somebody to develop, but that leaves 25 acres with a house that needs a lot of work and a 5,000 square foot outbuilding that needs a lot of work. So it's like, all right, how do I feel like not all the acreage on that property is worth the same amount of money. So anybody have a work through on that or an opinion? So if I got 35 acres, I got 10 in the front, I could sell off and divide into two different pies, and I think people would be all over it, right? But I don't want to do that. I don't think we want to do that. We want to sell the whole 35. But so when I try to figure out the value of the property by valuing the acreage, I feel like I got some acreage that's worth this and some acreage that's worth that.
Have you already contacted the county to find out if you can split it or could if you wanted to?
Actually, I have. Yes.
Okay, so you are able to.
Yes. Actually,
Okay.
yes. The county's actually not too bad about that. I've had a couple different clients that have gone through that. Now, luckily, we were able to sell the whole thing and didn't need to divide, but the county's actually not too bad to work with on that. They don't. Oh, here's one thing I learned. It's probably been a while. I think Crystal was in the room when I learned it. You can't split ponds anymore in Cass County. Can't split them. Did you know that, Lonnie?
I don't know what splitting a pond means.
Okay, so we have a property that has a pond on it, and we want to divide. So, like on this property, one of the ideas I had an acreage property, and it was a 30-acre property, and you can do it so where the boundary, the 5-acre boundary, split part of the pond. So that way, the pond would go, whenever you have that, it's a shared pond, so it's kind of shared by both properties, right? So and that used to be a pretty common thing, but I found out on this new one the county doesn't allow us to do that anymore. So you got to draw your boundaries around waterways. You can't cross it. Well, I'm going to say a pond. Yes, there's a lot of houses out there with shared ponds, and one of the reasons that they changed that rule, because I talked to the county commissioner about it, because he just happened to be in the same room, and he said that was when they looked back, it caused a lot of problems anytime anybody shares something, so they quit having us do it.
We have a
Good to
shared
know.
pond.
Yeah,
We do.
yeah,
They only own a little sliver of the side of it.
yeah,
And they reap all the rewards that we reap,
yep.
and we spent 60, we just spent $60,000 on it. So they get the great view and all that, which as long as you get along with people, which we don't have a hard time getting along with people, but when we came here and bought it, everybody's like, they did have their guard up and they were wondering what kind of assholes are buying this property, if that makes sense. So we came in very humble and we get along with everybody around here. So it's not a big issue, but I could definitely see how it could be. Yeah.
Got it. So back to the acreage question. You guys, I wish there was some kind of a Kelly Blue Book or something we could go to price this out, but it's always like everything's different. No, guys don't want to talk about acreage.
Well, I don't understand. I would just think you'd have to take it as a whole. Even if you're not going to split it, I would say you have to think of it as one big piece of land and not try to say, well, this corner is worth this much and that corner is worth that much. Like, I think you're just going to have to put it all into one big package and kind
Right.
of go with it like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
when
that
the buyers are looking at it, they're going to be like, okay, we're getting X amount for this price. So they're going to be doing an average dollar per acre. So they're not
right.
going to, whenever they're looking at it online. So even
Yeah,
if the front 10 is worth 30 an acre and the back 10 is worth 10, they're still thinking, I'm not paying $28,000 an acre out in Pleasant Hill when everything else is going for 20, even though 10 of it's prime.
right.
Yeah, I would agree with Jake.
I agree with that too. And but that's what then leads me back to the thing, how do we value acreage, right? Because there's I mean, as I'm looking, there's quite a few 20 and 30 acre properties out there. That seems to be something. I don't know. And we don't have to talk about it, but if anybody's had any experience or whatever, I'd love to
Well, I
hear it.
think you have to go by the comps in the area
Mm-hmm.
and then value it up or value it down based on what it has or what it hasn't
Right.
to the best of your ability.
I get it. And that's the other problem. The comps on properties like that, it's not like it's in Foxhaven, Stonegate.
No,
So
but you can go outside of that area if you need to find
yeah.
something more comparable to it.
So the Lacey's helped me with one that I was bidding the other day. And on the land, he was, because they do a lot with the land, and he says he just dissects every part of it. He does each building by itself as an $80,000 building. The appraisal will probably give him 45,000 on it. Average square foot per or dollar per square foot out in that area on acreage is this. They'll value that. Then they value the land separately. I mean, on the acreage, it just seems like it's a lot of math and a lot of work just because you have to separate everything out and do it individually to get a rough idea, and it could be completely off, but I don't think there's a golden standard for it by any means. But that was very helpful, just dissecting how much is the house worth, subtract that, and then how much are the barns worth, subtract that. Now, how much is my land worth? And just kind of doing it piece by piece.
Yeah. I like
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Nathan had kind of walked me through that exercise on the other property. My mother-in-law also had a 5 acre property with a small house on it, and with a 4 car detached garage and a smaller barn and a pond, and that's kind of the exercise that we walked through, breaking it down individually to what it was done, and then kind of priced it based upon that. And then when somebody asked me how I arrived at the price, I was able to break it down like that. So that is one way, which was a little bit easier on a 5 acre property that sits right on the road, a little bit different with a 35 acre with some nuances. So
He said the big objection on that is outbuildings, because they'll be like, hey, we just spent $80,000 on this outbuilding and you're not getting an $80,000 return. He says he
mhm,
finds that quite often, where he says, okay, yeah, it is $80,000, but when the appraiser comes out, he's only going to give you 55% of it, 60% of that value. So that's
mm.
where we have to come up with our comps. He says he just pisses a lot of people off whenever they ask him to value their land most of the time. But I'll text him, tell him to get on this call. They do that
Yeah,
all the time.
we need it. Yeah. So,
I
well,
just
actually,
text Caitlin and asked her to get on actually, Lacey, because I was texting her about a listing this morning.
well, if they hop back on, we'll circle around and we'll pick their brain a little bit about that. So anybody else have any thing that they're working on, hung up on?
I had one this morning, Tom.
Yep.
It was from a radon company. They were wanting to get some CBS code or something on my super box. Have you guys ever had that?
Yes.
I've heard
Okay.
of that too before. And I have no idea what it is after 10 years, but I've heard of that too.
Yeah, and they're like, here, we'll send you instructions so you can give us the code to your Supra box. And I'm like, this kind of sounds like a scam, even though I know the radon people were supposed to go out there today and it seems legit, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I just had never seen that before.
I had it happen and I called the guy and he told me what it was. And then he said, never mind, I'll just get in. So good. Guess he really didn't need it.
It's basically like a one-time share. Like they don't, because they probably don't have broker bay access. They're not paying for service, but they have like the old Bluetooth key. So you're basically just like giving them like a one-time access to the box so that they can go and either drop off the device or pick it up. And it still records, like it will still show up on your super access who it was that accessed it, but it just allows them to open up the iBox. It's handy actually.
Yeah, it is handy, but where do you get it? I can't remember either.
It was on that list when you got the boxes. I don't even know where to find mine.
I don't either anymore.
Yeah.
Can we
It
upload
is
photos into the chat? Let's
um,
see here. They sent me
Somebody,
a photo of it. I'll upload it
I
on
don't know the
Facebook.
answer to that. I
but it
think
is
that here
a
I'm going to do it real
viable
quick.
thing.
I think you can go into the app and then put into the super app, and then you click on my lock boxes, and then you pick the box that you want, and it's in the program lockbox section.
There we go. I just posted it
Oh,
on our
it
Facebook
is.
page
Yes.
too.
That is it. I forgot
Okay,
how to
perfect.
get to it.
look at
Yep.
us figuring
And then you
stuff
can
out.
also, if you go down when you very first click on the lockbox, the bottom option is grant managed access. And that's where you can like change, like times that the box will work and stuff like that.
Yes,
Um,
that's a real
and
thing too.
yeah, you can share you can put their phone number in there too, and it will automatically send the CBS number to them.
Yes.
So who has
That's
access to that? Say you have a plumber that needs to get in and you're out of town. Can you do it on that?
They
Or
have to have the Bluetooth. It's kind of like a key fob. I think they're actually, I'm not sure if Supra has it, but I know some of the virtual iBoxes, they actually have a contractor app that they can get that operates very similar to ours. But I don't think KCRAR has that yet. I think they still have to they have to buy the key fob, and they just have it just sends out a Bluetooth
And
signal. It's the same every time.
I don't think
Sorry, go
that
ahead, Chris. Did I cut you
that's
off?
okay, but I think a couple years ago they called back all those key fobs. I think it's when we changed to Supra, they put out all these emails saying, "Hey, key fobs don't work anymore," because people in our office used to have key fobs.
Yeah, they don't for the agents, they don't, but there's a contractor one that kind of looks like our cards that we use to get into the office.
Oh, I gotcha.
They don't work for the agents, but they have a contractor fob that there's no programming or anything. Once they get it, and then we have to give them access through the super app or through giving them the CBS number.
okay,
Yeah.
so there's no risk in giving that code to anybody because they have to have one of those. So they
Yeah,
couldn't
I
really
mean,
scam you or
they
anything.
can't, yeah, there's no way to scam. I mean, they don't, if they don't have the Bluetooth fob, you can give them the CBS code. It doesn't do anything. Like they have to, that's basically their like authorization from you to use their fob to access the house. The same as when somebody uses their app, um, they have to request permission and we have to grant them permission to access the property.
Cool. Yeah, it's bad that every time somebody texts me, I'm like, this is a scam.
You have to
Honestly,
think like that, though.
I hardly ever get that request. I've only had it like once or twice.
Yeah,
It's
me
been radon
too.
both times. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been
me
radon both
too.
times.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I still put I take the Supra box off and put a combo box on if I'm going to have contractors over.
Yeah, I started doing that too. I started putting a combo box over on the like by the gas meter just because of that
Yeah.
stuff. Like a lot of times, like, oh, we're gonna have the contractor in there. Well, now I got to go let them in because they don't have
Yeah.
iBox access. So yeah, it's a good call for that.
Yeah, anything that's over like 30 minutes away, I'm putting a lockbox out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody,
had
any,
a,
anybody
I had
else
an
get
interesting,
anxiety? No. I said, did anybody else get anxiety while you're waiting for your phone to connect to the iBox and it's going tick, 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 and you think it's never going to connect, right? And then sometimes it doesn't, right? And then we got to go back and do it again. Our client's standing there and it's 20 freaking degrees out. And yeah, there, that's
I've
how it
had
happens.
that. I've had that happen to me out in the way out in the country before.
yeah, I was just getting ready to say I was in Oric of all places, and I didn't have signal on my phone, and they freaking had an iBox there, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like I I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then yeah, it took me like 4 tries to get it, and it finally did like connect long enough to get access. But I'm like, wow, that would have been a bummer because that was like an hour drive just to get there.
Went to
the
a
worst
walkthrough
for
one
me,
time
sorry,
in
the
my
worst for me is
Supra.
whenever you don't connect. It doesn't like I don't always have my Bluetooth on. And so I always go to
Oh
click and turn
yeah.
it on, and then it's really loud, and it's like, and I'm like, oh gosh, why is that so loud? And then I have to hurry up and turn my Bluetooth on. I'm like, oh, dang technology.
Yeah. It is a weird feeling when you go like for your walkthrough, and my Supra for some reason had kicked me totally out of it, like I was a new person again. And already they were mad over yard art and a fountain. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So then we get in and the utilities are off already. This is a $600,000 house. And so the utilities were off. So then the guy was a little bit handicapped at that moment. So he couldn't even get through the garage. So they were all looking at me. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, all that stuff is nerve-wracking. Very.
Cool.
I just
Hey,
saw
Lon.
I
Yeah.
saw that Brandy had made that note that these are Bluetooth enabled, which is different than internet based. That was actually at one of the KCRAR things that I went to. You know how sometimes like Tom said, like there are times when like my like I don't know what it is, my key needs like the serial number needs updated, but it only updates when you're in the app. And of course, the only time I'm ever in the super app is when I'm going to
Yep.
unlock it. So then I'm like, right, I got to like get the update and then refresh. Well, the boxes need updates too. And since they're not internet based, sometimes when you're trying to like connect to a box and it seems like it's taking forever, your phone is already connected to it via Bluetooth, but it's downloading like an update packet through your phone. Every time you access a Supra box, like that 10 seconds, or sometimes it feels like it's like
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes. It's actually updating the iBox with unlock patterns or something like that. Because if you know, sometimes like when we update like the times that the box is available, you actually have to be by the iBox. You can't just do it right now from your phone and the box is on a house in, say Grandview. You actually have to be by the box for it to get that update. But now they're sharing data packets through our phone. So I think it started like midway through last year. If you've noticed that sometimes it takes way longer than it used to connect, it's because they're sharing data packets with the iBoxes through your phone when you're trying to access it. Because a lot of times, the box might be on a house for 6 months, and Supra's made a bunch of different updates, firmware updates. So they're utilizing your phone network to send that information to the iBox. So I never knew that before. So, but I have noticed lately
That
it
makes
is taking like longer and longer.
uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, that makes great sense. I always wondered why
Yeah.
some houses you can get right into and some you can't.
A
Well, thank
question
you for
on
that
Supra.
yeah. Thanks for that information from the tech committee. That
There
was
you
great.
go.
Yeah, very good. So, what else?
Is anybody having to log in every single time to their Supra One app?
Yes.
Why did they change it like that? And are they going to update that? That's a pain in the butt.
I'm not sure about the tech committee. We'll find out.
Okay, just making sure it wasn't just me.
I posted
No,
a video in the comments from Supra's, well, from Honeywell's website, but from the Supra stuff, about how to grant access to a single user. It walks you through step by step without using that CBS code.
Hmm.
So how to do it through through the eKey app because it is set up and it is set up for KCRAR without any issues. So that may be easier. Then you can monitor a little bit better when people are in and out.
it would be. I knew they were coming out. I didn't know that was already out. That's awesome. Thanks for posting that, Ashley. That's great. Then they don't even have to have a subscription or anything. It's just a link that they click on their text message when we send it. Is that right?
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
video I put the link for in the chat, and I can put it in the Facebook group too, just because I know that's easier to find stuff on later. About a minute and a half in, it walks you through the step by steps on how to do it and how
That's
to explain
awesome.
it to them too.
Okay. We worked that one down till it was boring. Um, just kidding. All right. Any updates for the from Brandy, Lonnie, anything?
Um,
No?
Brandy and about 10 others are going to be in Atlanta next week. So you guys are stuck with me for team meeting Tuesday. So hopefully everybody that's on this call that's not in Atlanta can be there. We're going to spend a lot of time on education and some bullet points of doing some deep dives, more on multi offers, a little more on contingency, a handful of other things that we're going to go on. So we're going to move really fast. But hopefully you guys, as many people could be there as possible. And because Brandy's not there, we can do whatever we want, which is great.
I'll be zooming in. I'll keep an eye on you.
You will. I guarantee you
That,
will too.
that swear jar is going to be so full next week.
Sounds like we're coming home to party.
Yeah, that's right. The place will be a wreck.
Oh, no hosting parties while I'm out. Okay. I do have a party. We're excited about our annual awards. And so I finally have picked a venue. The last couple of years I've been here, we've kind of held it here in the office, and it's a little cramped and maybe not so nice. Even though we have a great place, we want to make the annual awards a little bit nicer for you guys. So I have a date, and Becca put out a post the other day, but March the 10th, it's a Tuesday. So we're going to do that instead of team meeting, March the 10th, 10 a.m. It's going to be at the Dogwood Gardens event space in Peculiar. So new event space, still here in Cass County, not too far away, full catered breakfast, awards, good time. It's going to be great. So I'm super excited about that. We're putting a lot of work and effort into that to make it a real nice event for you guys.
That's awesome, Brandy.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
You
Brandy,
guys work
that
hard. You work hard. Let's celebrate your results. We've done well, and let's enjoy the fruits of our labor a little bit and celebrate you guys.
Well, I do have an out-of-state buyer coming in that week. I'm gonna do my best to save that time, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
bring him to the party.
Oh, yes. Wouldn't that be just for breakfast? Like,
Yeah.
here, we're gonna stop here for breakfast.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for setting that up, Brandy. And like one of the topics I was kind of saving, I get to get a little mushy here is about my appreciation for our market center, right? And I've been alive. I've made a few trips around the sun, and so I just, as I've gotten older, I really appreciate the culture that we have there. It's an environment that set me up for success. My view of success is different from some of us. Like we all have our thing, but for what I wanted and needed, it was just perfect. Have I ever been with nobody else? No, and I have no desire really to go anywhere. But the fact is that when I came here as a new agent, and maybe I didn't realize it then, I was surrounded by high performers. Actually, not that I could like walk into their office and ask a question, right? And I don't think every market center has that, where we have that accessibility to the people that can help us with our business and have the knowledge, right? And I always say I spent a little, maybe almost 2 years on the S&P team over there working with Nathan and Scott. I I tell everybody I got a Harvard education and 2 years in real estate, right? So being around those guys, so just the proximity, having the proximity to people that are successful in this business, and people that are willing to share how they got there, and people who are willing to keep us out of the ditches, which I definitely need somebody to keep me out of the ditches. Uh, so I just want to show my appreciation for that. And, like, hey, grateful is good. And that is what I am for that, for the market center. And if you're not fully engaging and you're just kind of sitting back and you're still a little bit timid, don't. I had a 30-minute conversation with Stephanie Finn this morning on the phone. I told her she's my safe place for stupid real estate questions, right? So I called her up, and we had that. And Nathan Priest has met me at multiple properties I've been consider buying, and helped me out. I stop in and I talk to Jake, and of course Lonnie, he's the Yoda of this whole thing. So so just I want to express that gratitude to all of you. I don't want to say you guys are all like family, because I don't like everybody in my family, but you guys are pretty important to me. So there you go.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for
Uh,
sharing.
and that is Thursday Therapy with Tom O. So.
We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing, Tom. I appreciate
Yeah.
that very much.
All right. So I do have a real estate related. So, and my camera is blurred from the background. I don't know how to unblur it, but I just have my first trigger from Cofeld on a cash deal. So the above transaction has sparked the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, FinCEN, rules to report personal information. This information requested will be used and submitted to FinCEN before closing. All information will need to be completed in a timely manner or can delay closing if both seller and buyer do not comply. If seller or buyer refuse to provide required information, Cofelt Land Title will not be able to finalize this transaction. And here's the part we kind of, I think, all had a question about when they told us about all the I don't want all the extra work, some of the extra work to be done. The seller charge on a cash transaction now that needs to go through the FinCEN is $150, and the buyer charge is $250. So there is some additional closing cost along with that. So
Yeah, I had to fill one of those out yesterday as well.
yeah.
It was
So
a
did
shorter.
you fill it out? Did you fill it out, or just sign this? Did you sign the? Did you have to? Did you fill out the questions?
No, mine was only like 10 pages. And it
Oh,
was just
okay.
basically signatures, names. Is it a residential property or commercial? I mean, it only took me 5 minutes to
Oh,
fill it
okay.
out.
Oh, okay. That's good
And
to know.
they,
I just got this thing saying that the transaction triggered.
I don't think mine has triggered yet. They wanted me to fill out that form
Hmm.
because they said they thought it might trigger. So they wanted to get ahead of it.
Was that Cofelt?
Yeah.
Just wondering if all the other Cofelt seems to do a pretty good job of being out ahead of things.
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if all the other title company, I don't know, curious to see what that looks like.
And that is just with the buyer, correct? Triggers because of the buyer. Can be sold in a trust, but it's what the buyer's doing, correct?
Yeah, if the buyer's buying in cash and is an LLC. Mine was hard money, and they said that might trigger it as well. Or a corporation, I guess, too.
Mm-hmm.
Or a trust.
So the seller will have an additional 150. So if the seller is selling for cash, they will have an additional $150 in closing cost. The buyer will have an additional $250 in closing cost.
That's good to know, Tom. I didn't pick up on that during our initial education on this. about there truly being additional fees. I was always just thinking of, more delay, more paperwork and things like that. So that's really good information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
didn't
mean,
pick up on that either.
I'm not, I don't, none of us are laundering money, right? But nobody wants to put any more work on this stuff than they have to. And I think what my concern is this house that this one is flagged on is that 84-year-old lady whose husband is in memory care. And now I'm gonna roll back to her, even that we've already had a little bit of, ooh, guess what? You're not gonna be able to close right away. Oh, and guess what? It's gonna cost you some money if you want to do this thing right. And then I'm going to roll back around in the door with, oh, and by the way, it's going to cost, which I'm just going to pay hers. I'll just pay the whole 500 on this particular deal just because that's it. But yeah, it might be a little more challenging with sellers. I don't know. Maybe we shift, or maybe not. We'll have to get a few of them underneath our belt, and it just might become every day what we do, just like a seller's disclosure. So.
Yeah, and the seller in theory could counter and say the buyer will pay any fees associated with FinCEN on the buyer or seller side. There's that possibility. The main thing is just the awareness that it's there. I could tell you if I wasn't on this call right now, I would have accepted one of those deals. And when I had an extra 150 cost to my seller, I would feel kind of bad because I didn't get informed.
Yep. So good.
I do have something off topic, not what we've been talking about, but I think it's important with everybody getting their tax returns, and a lot of people are using that for their down payments and such to get a house right now. My clients are doing that the same. They were supposed to get it in their bank tomorrow, and it's a little over 10,000. And they were on the call today, and I guess their bank isn't going to take it because it's over 10,000, and I guess the IRS is not allowing them to put it direct deposited into their bank account because it's over 10,000. I didn't think, a government check shouldn't be able to not be deposited into an account, but nevertheless, this is what they're going through. And so they said that they were going to mail it, which kind of scares me. You know how the mail has been. Sometimes people are taking weeks to get their mail. It's been like that for a long time. So we have time. We have till the end of March. So I'm sure everything will be fine, but may just think about that if your clients are getting over 10,000. And I'm sure, I don't know if different banks have different rules, but she seemed to think that this was the IRS saying they wouldn't do it. So.
That's interesting.
Good to know.
I'm wondering if that's at the bank level. That's really interesting.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too, because I know a lot of people, especially with tax credits for kids, if you have a lot of kids, you're most likely getting that amount over 10,000. And government checks, when I worked at a bank, they didn't even put holds on government checks. Even over 10,000, they're allowed to just put it in there and it's fully ready for people to use. So I thought that was odd, but
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
That just goes to show you there's something different in this business every day. Just in the last 10 minutes on this call, there's two things that I've been in this 24 years, and I didn't know anything about the FinCEN additional fees, and what Camille just said is brand new. We gotta powwow, guys. We gotta share our stories with each other, and sometimes they're bad stories, sometimes their deals will blow up for a reason. That's how we're going to get better collectively and continue to grow our businesses and utilize our advantage. We have a massive advantage in the team kind of mindset we have in our core group at Southland. And I just want that core group to continue to gel and actually, draw more and more people in. Trust me, it's that osmosis is very, very profitable for us. So let's keep doing that.
Absolutely. Always be talking real estate, right? So, because you're either doing, somebody might be listening that's interested, or if nothing else, you're getting your talk down. You're practicing in front of a live audience. And I shared a story with Lonnie, and I'm not going to get into it on this call, where I had a conversation and I was excited about a property, and the next thing I know, I'm putting something under contract for $925,000. So always be talking.
And always do the right thing so that people see that you do the right thing. I had a listing where the buyer had came up, and anyway, I'm going to make a short story out of this, but it is a long story. So the wife had already seen it with an agent the day before. Husband called me to see it the next day. And I showed him because it was my listing. And then he came out of the house and he said, I want to write an offer. And I said, well, what about your wife? Do you want to show her? He said, she saw it yesterday. So being that we have to have a buyer agency agreement, I said, well, you're going to have to use that agent. He goes, why? I didn't sign anything. So anyway, I said, well, I'm going to do the right thing and I'm going to go ahead and call that agent and make sure that he writes your offer because I don't want to do that to anyone. And he did. We did all that. But anyway, he liked how I do business and he called me to come and look at his acreage property. And he was another agent's buyer. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So anyway, just always know that those people could potentially be your clients as well later.
Always crazy.
It is. It's a
I've been
vicious
surprised.
circle here.
I've been surprised at, especially when I first started, I was like, yeah, this guy doesn't have any money. And then sure enough, he's loaded. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Like, I don't try to initially think that, but I mean, everybody has that, like, oh my gosh, this guy is like, there's no way he's qualifying for a house. And he's got 800,000 sitting in a bank. So,
Well, and then we have
Never assume.
the guy that acts like he's loaded, and then we find out he has a second mortgage, and we're probably not going to be able to get him paid off.
right.
Yeah. I've had that happen where I thought they were ready to buy and could buy, and they couldn't whip themselves out of a wet paper bag. They looked like they could, but they couldn't. They couldn't buy anything. No.
Hey, Tom,
Yes.
one thing I wanted to share if I could, we had a lot of year-end meetings, and then in January, agents will stop by and either, set an appointment or just kind of stop in, and 20, 30 minutes later, we're talking about their business. I think I've come up with one conclusion, and it doesn't matter where, how much business somebody does. I don't care if an agent's goal is to do 2 houses or 20 or 40, it doesn't matter. The question is, what do you want out of this thing and how do we get you there? But I think if there's one common theme, and probably the most common example is an agent that does 4, 6, maybe 8 deals a year and really wants to step into that 10 to 20 category, which is where this business can get really lucrative, where you're in the 6 figures, even multiple 6 figures, when you start talking about 20, 25 transactions. But the reality is, Brandy put a sheet out with a point system on it. That is how you can keep track of exactly what effort you're putting into your business on a daily basis. And it's a little embarrassing at times because I get to the end of my day. And by the way, I have one on my desk. Thank you, Brandy. And I look down and I'm like, okay, if I were keeping track today, how many points would I have? And you just think because you were in there for 6 hours, it would be 30, right? Lonnie does a lot of business. And seldom is it that, actually, unless I stop and just get real intentional to hit those number of points. So, when people say, hey, I'm fat and I want to get healthy and all that stuff, the best thing to do is for 1 week, write down what you eat and drink and how you exercise. And then you'll look at it and go, holy smokes, no wonder, right? This is exactly the same thing. And I think what the self-awareness is, if I'm going to go from 5 to 10 transactions to 15 to 20, I got to start playing chess instead of checkers. I've got to keep score of what am I putting into this business and be honest with myself. Because once we start getting a little activity, then the whole idea of working on the business goes away. It's then in the business, right? The busyness. But that sheet alone is the simplest thing I've ever seen for you to have an honest conversation with your business. Because people's audio and video don't match. They say they want this. Then when I go back to the most basic tools ever and ask them to implement them, and then maybe at the end of the week, they can see how many points they had each day. Someday, maybe it's 1 or 2. Maybe a couple days they got their shit together and actually got to 30. But that's where it starts. That's how we build these businesses. Many of you guys on this call, Chris Bradley, Ryan Finn, Nathan Priest, Scott Swaggart isn't on the call, but you sat in the chair across my office when you were at ground zero. And now some of these people have massive businesses and big lives. And that's, some people are so talented, they don't need any structure. They can just figure it out. But most of us, myself included, need more structure. So put more structure. You're in real estate because you like it and it doesn't have structure. I highly recommend getting more structure if you want to go into those next rungs of the business.
What a great way to finish off this call. So, guys, get out there. Well, I was going to say get out and enjoy the weather. No, stay in your offices, call people, grind away. Just keep grinding. Great Thursday, guys. See ya.
Thank you, Tom.
Great job.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.